is Metal and welcome to a tank review. For a change, we are looking at the Jagdpanther. I finally figured that I should get a Ferdinand, just because that's like the only tank that I don't have at the moment. So let's look at the armor of the Jagdpanther. So you don't have a lot. I mean, 80 angled at 50 degrees gives you 120, which could bounce like VK, the tier 7 medium tank, if you angle. Lower plate, absolute shit as well. 50 armor angled at not very much degrees, to say the least, as well. Gives you not more than 70. A lot of tanks with HE can pen you here, like SU-152 with HE can actually one-shot the Jagdpanther quite frequently if it hits into the lower plate. Then again, that's a pretty big if. You have this cage around the gun. It's not magnetic like on the Russian TD, so it's not like people actually hit this ever, but like if you hit this, you are likely to bounce. The gun mantle isn't actually too bad either, but the tank is so huge, and the flat zones here are so big that nobody will like really ever shoot you in the gun or the gun mantlet, so don't really expect much. One thing you can do, you can, like if you use your full gun depression, your angling on your front plate becomes better, but even then, that's like tier 7 medium tanks will struggle to pen you at this point, but nothing else really matters, and the tank suffers from having this kind of armor quite a bit, as it makes it quite slow. Anyways, we'll talk about that later. Let's look at the stats real quick here. So you have 8 degree gun depression, 14 elevation. A lot of people say that, why don't you play with the 88mm gun? But let's be real here. The advantage the 88mm really gives you is negligible. Like, you get slightly higher DPM by like 20, and you get better accuracy, but much worse aiming time actually. So in general, there's not much point of using the 88, apart from the fact that the shells cost 3 times less, and that's pretty much it. I mean, like, it's slightly more accurate, but the aiming time completely fucks that up. Anyways, I guess you get slightly better power to weight ratio, which is nice, and the gun traverse is significantly better as well, which might help with the aiming time to an extent as well. Anyways, though, I wouldn't 100% recommend using the 105 here, and let's just go into the replay before I talk too much about random crap that doesn't matter. And here we go, but as always, before we get into too much action, let's just read out all the stats real quick. So 850 health, really low compared to a lot of other tier 7 tank destroyers. 350 view range, absolutely dreadful. Top speed forwards 55, backwards 12, absolutely terrible. Terrain resistance is like okay-ish, it's not like super good or super bad. Gun elevation 14, depression 8, you already saw that. DPM 2341, really good actually for a TD that hits this hard. Penetration 200, damage per shot 320, reload time 8.2 with stock values, but you can get it down to close to 6.8, something like that. Is probably the optimal reload time there. 1.7 second aiming time and accuracy of 0.34. So what is there to say is that overall tier 7 TDs, a lot of them are absolute garbage. Like, the French tier 7 TD is so bad, it's unbelievable how bad this tier 7, the ACM, whatever, AMX AC46 is. That thing is fucking dreadful. It's like this tank with like fucking 600 less DPM. It's like, what the fuck are they even thinking? The same goes for, well, the American TD, the T25AT, the one without a turret, is slightly worse than this in every possible way once again. It's slightly smaller though, so I guess it has that going for it. So that makes the T25AT at least somewhat competitive. But the Challenger, the French TD, they're so bad. It's unbelievable how these things can still be in the game. The French TD has a 105 gun at tier 7 with 2.9 second aiming time. That is so retarded. It's unbelievable how stupid the balancing is there. So that being said, with the competition that the tier 7 TDs put up, the Jagdpanther lines up pretty well, even though it's still pretty shit for, your ability to carry games, because tanks like this can only really perform well at the long to medium ranges while they have spotters. 350 meters just means that you have to use binos, or you just might not use binos and just have no view range, but binos are recommended. At least I definitely would use binos, and I definitely did use binos when I played it. So, and here you can see the gun in action on its good days. So You have around 7-second reload for 320 alpha damage, and if it hits shots like this all day, then you're gonna build up the damage dealt really quickly in this. The DPM is pretty sick for a TD like this. It's nowhere near of the SU-1 to 244 level, but then again, an SU-1 to 244 would not pen a KV-4 frontally like that unless you load gold. The playstyle in the Jagdpanther is kind of like, you have to find a good mix between passive and aggressive play. Completely passive play will lose you so many games, you can't even imagine that. Like, there's this, you know, belief that when you play TD, you should camp the corner, you should camp back and do fuck all until your team all dies and then you do some damage. That is so bad, such a bad way to approach playing this game. It's unreal. You should always put your tank where you can shoot people from the starting moments of the game till the end of the game. If you cannot see anything, cannot shoot anything, your position is completely obsolete. Sure, you can, you know, think about the future in position where you know, like in 2 minutes I'll definitely do a lot of damage from here. That is fine, but in general you really want to position your tank where you can do damage consistently. Now, this is a pretty shitty situation to find yourself into. The I6 did not somehow pen me, and we actually do pen him on the move and roll almost 390, which is another good perk for this this tank. The thing about the thing you need to know when you play Jagdpanther like this, even though you cannot see the IS-6 properly there, doesn't mean that he cannot see me. So he probably could have shot me there, he just didn't want to aim that much, and now I got lucky because he missed. The ELC is probably gonna try to shoot me as well, or maybe somebody else, but fuck it, I'll just shoot the ELC then, I guess. IS-6 goes for me instead of the Jagdtag. It makes sense for him to do that, as I am still, well, the Jagdtag just has too much health. Now, the IS-6 turns the side of his turret, and the Jagdtag manages to reload before him, so I live to fight another day, even though at this point my game is pretty much over. I'm just literally stuck here between a rock and a hard place. The IS is peeking me. Well, he's not really now peeking me, but after I missed this shot, this is kind of over for me. I cannot re-peek that very well, and if I peek up, the ISU might get me, the RD might get me, so I'm kind of stuck here now, which kind of sucks. But yeah, the full equipment I would use on the Jagdpanther is primer, binos, and vents probably. You don't really need the gunlink drive at all, and you obviously don't get vert stab, so I guess that the setup with vents makes the most sense here. And the crew skills you want to work for definitely is Sixth Sense. Arguably, camo is more important than repairs in this, just because you have only 850 health. It's, in general, 3 shots if you not get shot by IS. ISs and IS-3s and all this crap can 2-shot you. All the 750 TDs can high roll kill you, which happens often. Like, ISU can 1-shot you, T-30s can 1-shot you, all this shit can 1-shot you. So, the repair kits aren't as important. They can save you some, or repair skills aren't as important, but they can definitely save you at some points. But I would say that that camo is more important, even though the tank is big as a fucking barn, so it probably doesn't have the best camo anyways. And here is the end plate: 3,478 experience with the double, ace tanker, tank sniper, high caliber, and confederate, 4,038 damage done and 407 assisted, 1,159 base experience with 2 kills picked up. Quite a lot of sniping, so not that much experience. But we did what we needed to do, as not being the top tier, we didn't really have to put any pressure on the map, and we could clean up pretty well once the enemies they really overdid it. They just played a bit too aggressive, which cost them the game in the end. In general, though, the Jagdpanther is above average from the tier 7 tank destroyer pool, but that's mostly because a lot of them are absolutely dreadful. To name some: AMX AC MLE 46, the Challenger, the T28 Concept, the T25 AT, the T25-2. There's so many of these terrible TDs. At the same time, it is not as good as something like the Russian SU-1 to 244 Premium. It's arguably worse than the SU-152 as well. It's definitely worse than the E25, and there's arguably the Scorpion is even better than the Jagdpanther just because of its small profile. But anyways, the Jagdpanther, I mean, it's playable, and the reward you get from grinding it, the absolutely beast Ferdinand, will definitely be worth it. I fucking shit you not. Anyways, I'm off for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys on the next one.